Ladies, at our big grown ages, we should not be sitting across from any man arguing with him about why he didn't call or text us back. If he's not calling, he's not interested. Move on. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Lynette's Perspective. Thank you so much for joining me, and I appreciate you clicking on the video. We are back with Ready to Love episode 3 and moving on to the real dates, though they were mostly double and triple dates. Overall, I thought the episode was a little lackluster, but there were some key moments of emotional vulnerability that I would most definitely like to talk about. But first, we start off with the singles from the first episode being invited by Tommy to a comedy club. Those first 10 singles are then introduced to the other singles who Tommy brings out on stage, and he tells the first group who's sitting out in the audience, make sure you look and see if Will and Sahara are still standing. So Jay tells us that he doesn't see Will up on stage, but unfortunately, he does see Sahara. And I was just busting out laughing because, I was glad to see my girl. I know she has absolutely no chill, but I'm always here for it. Deanna came out guns blazing, baby. She had the girls up and out and on display like, hello and how are you? I'm Deanna and these are my girls. What's happening? Angie really annoyed me talking about how she thought that things were going so well with Wayne, but that he never called her. And I was like, here we go. It wouldn't be Ready to Love without lack of communication. I knew from the first episode, though, she was getting way too into this man too fast. But again, if a man doesn't call, there's no need to wonder about what's going on with him. Honey, he's just not interested. But overall, I really enjoyed the two groups meshing and mingling together, going from table to table and person to person. I thought the energy was really good. People seemed like they were really having a good time, having fun, getting to know each other, although not everyone was a perfect match, but that's to be expected. I liked the vibe of the singles who just seemed to be having a drink, joking around, and everybody seemed a little bit looser with this sort of mix and mingle event. Now, when they focus on Sahara having her date with Hussein, I don't know what in the hell she had on. I don't know why she came dressed like a 15-year-old girl. I don't know what was going on with them pom-poms in that dress, but I was actually happy to see her connect with someone. She and Hussein seemed like they were hitting it off pretty nicely, though, and I was like, good for her. Then after the mixer, we're finally on the first real dating event, and I love that it was a skating rink. Skating rinks are so much fun, even though I'm not that great of a skater myself, but I always have a good time. Turns out this is a group date starting with True and Naeem. And here we go again, another man that's not called a woman back. True starts in with Naeem and same rule of thumb applies here. Don't know that he's interested, sis. Let it go. The next coupling was Shanice and Hussein, who really seemed to hit it off. And Shanice is going to get into more details in the ladies' lounge, but she seemed to really feel a genuine connection with Hussein on this date. And we didn't get much time with Jay, who is a great skater, by the way, and Kiera. But according to Kiera, Jay is at the top of her list. So this seems like a good match. At least she feels like this is a really good connection. We leave the skating rink and head over to make pottery with Rocky, Rose, Khalil, Fritz, Tay, and Cam. And Khalil really wants to talk to Tay. Naeem really wants to talk to Tay. Francisco really wants to talk to Tay. Again, she is really popular with the guys. And when Khalil finally gets his chance to sit down and talk with Tay, fortunately for him, they really hit it off and seem to have a genuine connection. Then there's a double date at some sort of, I don't know if it's like a outside cafe, but it's a double date with Angie and Coley and Eddie and Wayne. And I was like, here we go again. Angie's going to have her chance to complain about Wayne not calling her back. But the surprising moment for me was when Wayne starts talking about his brother and how proud he is of his younger brother, who I believe is now married and has a child. And out of the blue, Coley just starts crying. And everyone was like, oh my gosh, like, what, are you okay? What happened? And of course, we learned that she lost her brother to a motorcycle accident and how it changed her whole life. And I was just devastated to hear that about her and her family. I couldn't imagine having to go through something like that. But I love the way the group supported Coley in that moment and let her know that her brother would be proud of her and where she is in her life. And then Eddie revealed that he lost his father when he was just 7. I was like, my God. And then Eddie and Coley leave. So there's just Angie sitting there at the table with Wayne. And she pretty much gives him an ultimatum, like leaving it up to him as to what he's going to do. Is he either going to step up and communicate with her and call her, or is he not? And I'm just thinking to myself as I'm watching it, Angie, you are way too beautiful of a woman to be wasting your time begging a man to call you. Just stop. So after all their dates, the women go meet Tommy inside of this gold-plated vault. And I have to admit, it was beautiful in there. And I really love this upgrade for the women. So let's get down to who all the women liked, starting with Angie. I was surprised she said her strongest connection was with Eddie. Like, really? It seemed like she was mostly focused on Wayne. I didn't really see her talking or connecting with Eddie, but maybe I missed it. So, of course, Coley said Eddie as well, and that made sense because we could definitely see that during their double date, Coley and Eddie were really connecting. Rocky seemed to really like Fritz, even though he's a mama's boy, but she said she's a daddy's girl, so that would somehow work for them. Like, okay. Rose also liked Fritz. Deanna liked Francisco, and that was a good match, or at least it seemed to me. You could tell that at the mixer that they were really hitting it off, especially when they were talking about the gym. So that made sense. That's a match that made sense. Now, this I thought was funny during this women's deliberation. So Kiara speaks up next, and she talks about, of course, she's chosen Jay. And then she tells everybody that Jay told her to follow him to the gas station, and he paid for her gas. And everybody was like, aw, which, I mean, it's nice, but it's like, wow. She is very smitten with Jay. So she's like, Jay is my man, my man, my man. I was a little surprised that Tay said her strongest connection was with Khalil. I would have thought she would have said Francisco, but after thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that's probably a much better choice. Sahara chose Hussein, which may be the only man who may really be interested in her. Let's just be honest, but I could be wrong. True also said Hussein, even though her date really was kind of technically with Naeem, but Naeem dropped the ball with not calling her, so Hussein it is. Shanice also chose Hussein, and she said skating just made her like him even more because he told her before she could even fall that he was going to be there to catch her, and it really felt good that somebody gets her because she always feels like she's got everyone else. I was really touched by that. And then suddenly Shanice gets emotional, and she says she's just lost so much in her life, and she's been broke and homeless twice. And then everybody just started to tear up. But I wanted to play this in her own words because this was really touching.
I feel emotional energy from you right now. What's going on?
Because I lost a lot in my life. I've been broke twice. I've been homeless. And so I just never forget people who support me, encourage me, because sometimes we don't always feel like we're 100%, and we need to be supported too.
This was such a great moment for this episode, and I am so glad that we got to see a whole other side to Shanice. And it really kind of made sense then why in the first episode she was all about her business and so focused on her business. But now we really got to see that there's so much more to her. Then on to who the ladies didn't like. Rocky surprisingly said that Eddie was an F-boy, and I was like, ooh. That was surprising. Rose called out Wayne and said this man was definitely not ready to get married. And more women started saying, Wayne, Wayne, Wayne. I was like, that's just too many women. I was like, Wayne is about to go home. And here's a note to the men coming on these dating and reality TV shows. Stop asking for the women's numbers and getting their numbers and then not calling him. You know you're going to be discussed in the ladies' lounge, and it's not going to be good, and it's only going to hurt your chances and put you at the bottom because you're going to be labeled as that guy who doesn't know how to communicate and doesn't call back. Just don't ask for the ladies' number if you're not interested. Also, not a fan favorite amongst the women was Cam, who really seemed intimidated by Deanna, even though they were both firefighters. And I mean, that's an understandable turnoff If you are a strong woman, you need a strong man. But ultimately, Wayne is not ready to love. So let's listen to some of what he had to say.
I don't think I would have done anything any different. I'm not really here to stroke anybody's ego, to be honest. It would have been much easier to come in here and give attention to women who I had no interest in seeing in order to get their vote, but I didn't do that. I didn't expect to go home, but I'm quite proud of how I moved. And also, I don't really care what anybody thinks.
So what did you all think about that? Please drop down in the comments and let me know. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I will definitely see you all after the Married at First Sight episode on Tuesday night.
When they look in my eyes, all they see is pain, but I don't care.